The Executive Insight podcast series is produced by the Institute for Supplier Collaboration. The goal is to help manufacturers transform their supplier relations to improve business results.
One of the things that manufacturers need to understand, especially if they're looking at a supply base that's outside of their area of operation, they're looking at other low-cost countries where they can source, they need to understand that just the piece price doesn't make up the whole cost. They have to take into a holistic approach of creating a total cost of acquisition or a total cost of ownership model. When you are sourcing from global markets, there is the lead time of getting the product from their manufacturing plant into your plant. And there's obviously cost that's associated with that. That needs to be factored in. You've got to factor in the cost of transportation. You have to factor in the warranty cost. You've got to factor in cost of quality. One of the things that the suppliers need to do is, as they work with their OEMs, help them understand some of these costs and just not focus on the piece price. If you take a look at their needs and what they are buying, they need to look at tapping into the right markets. There are certain markets which have very strong capabilities. For example, if you take a look at the electronic market, all the PCBs, the conductors, and all those stuff, if you're not leveraging the Southeast Asian market, there is definitely a big gap in your strategy. Most of the Korean, the Taiwanese, the Chinese manufacturers have a much better total cost of ownership when it comes to some of these components that everyone sources from. So you really need to understand from your operations, what are the key components, where are they, which markets have core competency in those, and then from that perspective, create a global gap analysis and say, okay, here are the products that I'm buying, I'm not really tapping on these markets. So how do I really look at those as an opportunity? Any company that is really looking at supply base should have its own qualification process. They need to understand and say what are key to them. They need to define the key criteria of creating a successful supply base, and then use those key criteria in terms of assessing them not only from a technical capability, a quality capability, but also from a business capability. Are they in the right industry? Are they in the right market? Are their cost of operation in line? Because what you're looking for is identifying that specific set of suppliers that would be a long-term player for your organization and create value, rather than jumping into a supplier based on one aspect of the overall cost structure and then having to change your strategy as you go down the road. It is going to vary from the products that you are looking at buying. It depends. From a commodity to commodity perspective or a product perspective. But overall, I think what you need to really look at is the supplier able to bring in innovation? Is the supplier looking at and saying, am I making my OEM successful in the market? What can I do different to bring productivity to their operations? We are not talking about the suppliers or the OEMs looking at reducing the margins of these suppliers, but creating a very collaborative, interdependent win-win situation where they're able to jointly look within their processes, remove all existing inefficiencies, look at things like value analysis, value engineering. How can we do things differently that will change the cost structure and give competitive advantage? One of the companies that is really executing well from a global perspective is Dell. And if you look at Dell's operation, they basically have a true global supply chain that comes together from point of order to point of delivery. What they've created is a very efficient business model that takes care of a lot of inefficiencies of having to, hold inventory, transportation, your whole S&OP process planning, the variability within all that, removing all that, and creating a true point of sale to point of delivery pull system. Any of these initiatives, if you really take a look, have to be structured, have to be taken in steps and executed. Similarly, from that perspective, I think when you start looking at, you start with your strategic sourcing analysis, really identifying where are the best markets and who are the best suppliers. Start taking, from your key success factors, identifying your key product groups that you need to go after. And from there, create a plan that very clearly takes you to identifying and establishing a global supply base. We have helped major organizations really implement that global strategy, and in certain levels, we've also helped them create the global strategy of how they need to go and approach creating a global supply network, specifically from terms of strategic sourcing, identifying which markets to be in, and then within those markets who the suppliers are, qualifying those suppliers, helping them establish the relationship. And also down the road, we have our folks as the foot on the ground for some of these suppliers, managing some of their delivery and quality issues, thereby ensuring that they keep their costs low. I mean, if you take a look at the relationship between OEMs and suppliers, where you want to really move the relationship is to become an interdependent organization. So what it really does is it helps them feed off each other's strengths and create a win-win for both of them.